KURINJI Senior Secondary School, CBSE, Namakkal.
Successful result producing school in state every year.
Administered by the Board of Directors with over 35 years of experience in the teaching field.
Special attention on art, craft, music, dance, silambam, yoga, skating and karate.
Focus on Hindi Sabha and Spell Bee Olympiad exams.
Smart class for effective and innovative learning and well-furnished library.
Solitary importance on sports and games in state and national level.
WhatsApp facilities to know activities of students and school inside the campus.
NEET, JEE, IIT coaching experts from Rajasthan and Andhra Pradesh along with our effective teachers.
Admission registration for classes LKG to +2.
KURINJI Educational Institution, Kavetipatti, Namakkal. Admission in progress. CBSE, KG to 12, contact 9025895176. Metric 6 to 12, contact 9344567484. For online admission, log on to www.kurinjischoolnkl.com.
Hi students, good morning to everyone. This video session continuation of our 11th standard neural control and coordination. Previously several videos we did on the topic of neural and control and coordination. Last video a topic is nerve impulse generation and their conduction. Okay, and the nerve impulse generation time I said introduction time here plus and minus charges are located on the axolemma. Okay, outer side, inner side of the axolemma. Distribution of the sodium and potassium ions, based on that plus and minus charges are established on the axolemma either side. Okay, that action potential, that electricity, here two words I am used, action potential and electricity. Here the action potential transferred in the form of the electrical form. So on the neurons onwards, with the help of the neurons, action potential, nothing but nerve impulse are conducting throughout of appropriate organ. For example, sensory means receptor onwards brain, motor means brain to appropriate organ. Okay, concerned organs. So this time when the nerve impulse are conducting through the nerves, what are the steps are happened, what are the changes are happened on the axolemma, that we want to know. Okay, so regarding that today video session, conduction of the nerve impulse. The conduction of the nerve impulse consisting 5 important steps. That 5 important steps we have to know. Let me start today video session. Conduction of the nerve impulse. Here conduction of the nerve impulse totally consisting 5 phases, 5 steps also. Okay, whether step or phases, whatever it is. First step polarized state, and then second step threshold stage. Threshold stage. Third step here, this is the third step, depolarization stage. Fourth step repolarization stage. Okay, then fifth step here in the second column, hyperpolarization stage. Okay, what is this? Why these different stages are happened in the nerve impulse conduction time? See Nana, now I will tell you an example. According to that example, imagine it. Once a bell rang. Okay, that bell rang is an indication today's school is over. Okay, at the 4:30 after bell rang. So by hearing of that sound, you know, already we seen, of course, this chapter ending time we will discuss about the sensory organ. Our inside of the eardrum is there. By the eardrum that will be vibrated. The vibrations sensors will be received. The receptors are receiving the information. By the neurons, information will be traveled through the neurons to reach the brain. Okay, within fraction of seconds that information will reach from the ear to brain. By brain analysis it will tell now this is end. Okay, ending of these today periods total. So how you got that information? Now At that time, nerve impulse are passing through the axon from the receptor, the place of the ear to brain. So there is a connection between the ear to brain. So think it, thousands of neurons are linked together to form the one thread-like structure, that is the nerves. That nerves are receiving these sound, okay, this sound. That means the sound receptors will receive that message, will be giving to the nerves. Then that nerve will be giving to the message to brain. Okay. Now when that nerves are carrying the nerve impulse message, these 5 steps are occurs. Now what is that one? Now first step, it is a polarized stage. Okay, one second. This is the polarized stage. Okay, here polarized stage time, what will happen means you are all sat on your benches. Okay, still bell is not at rang. When you sat on your benches in your classroom, now your nerves are, everything is a resting condition. Especially I said an example, that example wise your axons, neurons are, everything is resting. So that's why at the resting time, normal condition time, what are the stages are exhibited by the nerves, such a stage we called as a polarized stage. That polarized stage we also called as a resting stage. Now come to the point, when that nerves are in the polarized stage, it contains one negative charge. Why it contains the one negative charge, I will tell. See, axolemma outside positive charge are there, axolemma inside negative charge are there. Just please be recall previous video's conclusion time, I drawn one diagram. On the diagram, if you take one line is a axolemma, outer side positive charge, inner side negative charge. More number of negative charge is present inside. So that's why I said comparison between the distribution of the Na plus ions and potassium ions in between of outside and inside of the axolemma. So the variation will be giving the charge. Okay, on the time I said about substrate and addition wise I said. So based on that it indicates a negative. Okay, but basically axolemma outside positive charge, axolemma inside negative charges are exhibited. In the resting stage, membrane potential range approximately minus 40 to minus 90. Minus 40 to minus 90. That means without performing of any work, simply our body parts are functions inside. But additional stimulations are not at there. Okay, that means external environment onwards, there is no any stimulations. When you are slept time, this is the condition, resting stage. Okay, now. So in the sleeping time, suddenly you heard it, something big sound. Automatically that sound is disturb your neurons, resting stages. So that only. See here, normal condition, the resting neurons electric potential minus 40 to minus 90. We can't say exact figure. So approximately we can say the minimum minus 90, maximum minimum minus 40, maximum minus 90. Okay, remember these minus 90. Once more time, end of this video I will explain. So typical value is minus 70. General condition. In general condition, neurons in the place of, in the condition of the action resting stage minus 70. That is a general neurons condition. Okay, so that minus 70 indicates minus a charge. This point paranga minus charge inside negative charges. That means inside having the lot of negative charges. Why inside having the lot of negative charges? Because of outside more number of sodium ions are there. For example, oxolemma outside 30 sodium ions are there. Inside potassium also plus charge only, but inside 20 potassium ions are there. Outside 30 sodium ions, inside 20 potassium ions. So something variation is there in between in the distribution of the ions. So 10 ions are variation. So inside less positive charge, that less positive charge indicates something negative. Okay, so that is a theme. So in this, during this phase or during this stage, sodium gates, sodium and potassium, which gates, activation gates are closed. You remembered or not, on the last video session I explained about ionic channels. Through the ionic channels only nerve impulse will be conducting with the help of the exchanging of sodium ions and potassium ions are exchanging in between the axolemma. Okay, on the day I said leakage channels and ligand gated channels and voltage gated channels. Three type of channels we discussed. Correct na? Leakage channels are present on the axolemma and ligand gated channels are dendrites and cell body wise. Because of those and all chemoreceptors. Remember Anana? So recall that one. So here sodium potassium activation gates are closed condition and sodium inactivation gates are open condition. These stages we have to remember. Okay, so this is the resting stage. Resting stage time, still you doesn't have any sound, any stimulations, your body is a normal neutral condition. That stage our neurons action potential approximately -40 to -90, maximum to minimum, and mean value -70 is a mean value, accurate value, and it indicates inside negative charges. In this, during this phase, sodium potassium activation gates are closed, only sodium inactivation gates are only open. That is the first stage. Okay na? Then come to the second stage. In the second stage, threshold stage. Okay, threshold stage mean, see this threshold stage time what will happen means it disturb these -70 action potential. So -70 will disturb slowly, the -70 will decreasing there, -70 it will come to the -50, -40 like that. So here in threshold stage time, when the nerve impulse are stimulated, okay, when you sit on one place, okay, bell rang, school bell rang, you are in deep thinking, you are deep thinking whether something your family related or else subject concept based whatever it is. Unfortunately you doesn't heard it bell sound, okay, but your friend is heard it, that one. Okay, still you are in deep concentration because of still your nerves are not yet disturbed, still those are in a polarized state. Threshold stage time only, when the nerves are become a threshold stage, then only stimulations will be give a proper action. So when you are unconscious stage, we can't get a threshold stage, still we are in a polarized. So when you heard it that sound, automatically it create some stimulations that will be giving the electric disturbances on the axolemma. Then by the disturbances, the movement of the ions in between the axolemma and axoplasm, it will start. So when it is started, automatically threshold stage will causes. When nerve fibers are stimulated, axolemma is more permeable to the sodium ions. Okay, now what will happen there? See, an activation and inactivation gates of the sodium ions both are open. So that's why, that is the reason threshold stage time more sodium ions are moving outside to inside. Okay, because of both gates are open, but the simultaneously sodium activation gates are closed. So movement of the sodium ions are very less. So movement of the potassium ions are very less. Movement of the sodium ions are very more in between of the axolemma, outside extracellular fluid onwards axoplasm. Okay, so fastly sodium ions are moving to inwards of axolemma. Okay, that will be disturbed. That mean once on day, previously I given an example, 30 sodium ions are present in outside of the axolemma. How many potassium ions are inside? 20. So still 10 differentiation is there now. Slowly when the 5 sodium ions are entered the inside of the axolemma, what will happen? Still -5 only will be there. So minus charge will be reduced. So that minus charge gradually is reduced. Now that stage only we called as a threshold. stage. In this threshold stage, threshold potential minus 55. Resting potential how much nonna? Maximum 40 to minimum 40 to maximum 90, minus 90. Then mean value minus 70 MV. Okay, voltage. Okay, micro voltage. But threshold stage time action that nervous potentiality minus 55. That mean here minus 70 onwards it lost 15. So that's why minus 55. That mean some number of sodium ions are entered the inside. It is balancing some negative power, negative charge. Okay, so that is a thing. Then right, then third step here. Third step, depolarization. Depolarization means it start reducing of the minus charge of inside of the axolemma very rapid fast. Such a stage depolarization again we can able to call is a rising stage. Okay, rising stage means we can say like this, that minus charge will become a positive charge. Okay, so depolarization after crossing of the threshold stage, threshold potential, axolemma outer side it will indicates minus, nothing but negative, and axolemma inside plus charge, that is a positive. I think so it is a opposite stage of the potential stage, polarized stage, correct na? So that's why only we gave depolarization. Depolarization means nothing but opposite only of the polarizing only na. Polarized stage time what will happen? Outside positive, inside negative. When it is reverse way, outside negative, inside positive, that we can able to call depolarization only na. So that's why we called as a rising stage. Rising stage indicates positive is converted into the negative is converted into the positive. So that's why we can able to call that is a rising stage. That only here I mentioned. After crossing of the threshold potential, axolemma outside negative, axolemma inside positive will be positive charge will be present, because of sodium ions are entered to the axolemma, nothing but through axolemma it is entered the axoplasm. Because here in the second column we see which gates are open condition. Sodium inactivation, activation gates are open, but potassium gates are closed. So potassium ions are will not move, sodium ions are will move. So that's why outside to inside, basing on the concentration, outside sodium ions are very more and inside very less. So that's why more concentration region onwards, less concentration region through the voltage gated, sodium voltage gated channels onwards, sodium will be enter the inside. That so when the more number of sodium ions are entered, that means excessive sodium ions are entered inside, nothing but 30 sodium ions are also entered inside. Still potassium ions are not yet came out. Okay, so 30 sodium ions are entered inside means it will become a positive, because of all are positive. Short potassium also positive condition and sodium also extracted. So that's why inside positive charge will be established. That only based on the concept of entry of the sodium ions are inside of the axolemma, axoplasm, through the sodium activation inactivation gates, the charge will become a plus 45 MV micro voltage. Spike potential, that only we call as a spike potential. That spike potential means if you draw the one graph, these graph will be giving to the upper peak, a big peak will be generated. So that's why this is we call as a spike potential. Okay, spike, you know spike hairstyle, you know that hair will become a stiffy nature, like that type of graph will be established. So in this condition, sodium activation inactivation gates are closed and potassium gates are closed. Okay, here sodium activation gates, inactivation gates are open condition, potassium gates are closed condition. Okay, that I think these two places are same thing. Now slowly it, okay, this example wise I will tell. When you are heard that rang, that bell rang information receiving by the your eardrum, then that a vibration will be given to the sensor, sound sensors, that sensors are receptors, that receptors are giving to the first neuron, that first neuron will give to the information to the second neuron. For example, from the here to brain 1000 neurons are there. Now first neuron from the here place that will give the information to the second neuron. Now first neuron want to get neutralized condition. Okay, just is nothing but coco play. So first neuron will be getting polarization, stays onwards threshold stays onwards depolarization. Later when it is giving to the information to the next neuron, the first neuron want to get normal. That first neuron getting normal condition we can able to set under stage 4, that is a repolarization. Repolarization time, it is a similar stage of the polarization. So that's why I mentioned these two stages are side by side. Repolarization means again the stage to form the polarized condition. So repolarization time, what will happen? The nerve impulse are wave passing away from that side. That side means whether one side of the axon place or maybe they are giving the information to the next neuron. So the pre-existed neuron want to come to the normal condition. That pass away of the nerve impulse, the site origin to adjacent places, adjacent parts, then it will come to the normal condition. Normal condition means potential condition. Okay, when we are getting the angry, on that time our behavior is one thing. After the same day in the evening, our without angry, our pleasant environment is there, such a type. Okay, in this time sodium activation gates are closed, but inactivation gates are open. Inactivation gates are open. So this time potassium gates are open condition only. Okay, so sodium ions also start to move. Nothing but potassium ions also started movement, and then sodium ions also started movement. But potassium ions are easily moved because of only one activation gates only is there. But here two gates, activation, inactivation. So activation gates are closed, inactivation gates are open condition. Okay, then next one, that means normal condition. Then first rising potential stage, next one threshold stage, later depolarization stage or rising stage, next fourth one repolarization stage. That means one function is completed, one activity is completed. Okay, one function, one work. Sometimes after completion of the one work, our neurons will get a deep sleeping condition. That deep sleeping condition, we can consider into the hyperpolarization. That means overpolarization. When we are in overpolarization stage of neurons, we doesn't give any response from any stimulations. Okay, hyper means over, polarization means over polarization. This only we can able to call in generally understood. That means see when you are deep sleeping, somebody is touch, you can't sense. Okay, in the outside of, you slept in your bedroom, in the kitchen room some vessels are fall down, big sound came, even though you are not at wake up, you are not at sense about that sound, because of your neurons are in the stage of the hyperpolarization. Hyperpolarization stage onwards, it want to come as a polarization, then it want to come threshold stage only it will give the stimulations. Below threshold stage it will not give any stimulations. Okay, so this is the thing. See here, hyperpolarization time, sometimes repolarization typically goes more negative. Basically polarization time negative stage -70 only na. Okay, on that time one time I said, no, here first time, one second, in the first column I said about inga paranga pointer place -40 to -90 kada. Basically typical value how much is -70, and that means generally neurons in the resting stage minus 70. Hypolarization time, what will the neurons will achieve the minus 90. Now minus 90 onwards it want to come minus 70, minus 70 onwards threshold minus 55, then it want to come to the plus 45. So plus 45 onwards minus 90 long distance is there. So minus 90 MV potential containing neurons, we can say this stage is called hyperpolarization. In the hyperpolarization time, what will happen? This is the reason because of axolemma is more permeable to the potassium ions, than the sodium ions. In this stage, sodium activation inactivation gates are closed. So sodium ions will not move, but only potassium ions only will move. So that potassium ions inside to outside it will come. First beginning time I gave one example. Outside 30 sodium ions are, inside 20 potassium ions are there. For example, inside of the 20 potassium ions, 10 more potassium ions are came out. Still inside how many ions are there in potassium? 10 only na. Up more negative charges is there na. Basically first 30, 20, 10 differentiation is there. Based on that some one potential range will become. Now outside 40, inside 10 only. That 10 indicates more negative na. That only leads to the hyperpolarization. Hyper means more. So because of this situation, sodium ions are closed. Sodium ion gates, voltage gated channels are low. Okay, potassium gated channels are more permeable. Okay, that is the thing. Right, here one diagrammatic, this here I mentioned, potassium activation gates are open. For diagrammatic wise I mentioned here, the graph wise here, this is generally minus 70. Okay, minus in the normal resting time, this is the minus, see the normal condition minus 70, minus 70 onwards this line resting state. Down I mentioned here one resting stage, this is yellow color. Now slowly if any stimulations are started, it want to come rise up, slowly minus 70 will decrease their charge, minus 45 is the threshold, this line, maximum 50, range of the 50-55. Okay, then slowly stimulations will be more. Now that negative charge will reduce, slowly it will come to the positive charge. So that positive charge we can say depolarization, correct only na? So the action potential will become a positive charge, that up to plus 45. Depolarization time, that only we said plus 45. Then if work is completed, then slowly the neurons will come turn into the repolarization. Slow, the positive charge will become a fall down. So that's why this stage we can say rising stage, this stage we can say falling stage. Rising stage is nothing but depolarization, falling stage is nothing but repolarization stage. So gradually the falling stage time, the negative charge will come to the up to minus 70. Sometimes it is crossed the minus 70, it goes to up to minus 90. This is the minus 70, minus 90. This is the minus 100. So nearby 100 minus 90. So such a stage only we call as a hyperpolarization, minus 90. So inga paringana, this line resting stage without disturbance, normal condition. Threshold stage, the orange color line up to here minus 45. Then plus 45 depolarization. From the plus 45 onwards come down, that is a repolarization. Then it will reach the minus 90, that is a hyperpolarization. When our body neurons in the condition of the hyperpolarization, we doesn't get any stimulation, where our body doesn't give any response. That only happens when you are sleeping in the deep sleep. Anything happens in your surrounding, our body can't show any response. So because of hyperpolarization want to disturb. For disturbing of the hyperpolarization, it need more energy. Okay, and corner I mentioned how the nerve impulse are passing. Generally normal time outside plus inside minus kadananna. When impulse are going on, outside minus inside plus. So when it is normal condition, outside plus inside minus. I think so conduction of the nerve impulse concept you understand. Read these concepts 2 times in the our NCRT book and our matriculation book also helpful to you. If you have download, if you have that, okay. If it doesn't have means download from online. The book is very useful to you. Okay, next I will be explain reflex arc. Up to that wait, Nana. Thank you.